last race weekend, I should say. Max Verstappen had a highly criticised incident with George Russell, leaving him with 11 out of the 12 penalty points needed for a race ban. Two of those points will disappear after June because two of them were picked up for the incident in Austria last season. But it does leave them in a precarious position where a single penalty point could cost their star driver a race, maybe even at Red Bull's home circuit in Austria. First of all, do you think it's likely we'll see a race ban for Max? And secondly, if that were to happen, what do Red Bull do in that scenario? Because we've already seen them rip through their junior drivers this season alone.
Yeah, that's the thing. Red Bull are kind of scrambling at the moment. They have put in an application to get a super license exemption for Arvid Lindblad, who is in Formula 2 at the moment, doing a really good job in fairness, but he's only 17 years old, so they would need to get an exemption for him. Apparently that's going to be approved this week by the FIA. If it doesn't happen, then the logical kind of step really would be to get Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull car, give him a go, and then to replace him at Racing Bulls, you'd likely see someone like a Yuma Iwasa or someone like that take his place. But yeah, with Max, I mean, you would think that someone who has won four world championships over 60 races would be able to keep his cool for a couple of races. But the problem is that when the red mist descends with Max, he absolutely loses the plot. You know, Max, a lot of the time with Max's moves, they're very calculated. Like he does things that a lot of people may perceive to be dirty, to be unsportsmanlike, but he does it in a way that the rule book says is fine. Like the person who wins the right to the corner. A lot of them moves that people would say, "Oh, you shouldn't drive like that." Well, the rule book says I can do it like this, and I've done it like this, so it's fine. He knows what he's doing. But there's some times when he just loses his cool, and we saw it at Hungary last year. We saw it at Mexico last year as well, and we obviously saw it at Spain this year too. So it's all about if something happens like that. If Max just drives and does his thing and gets a good result, he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. But it's just if he loses his cool. And when he loses control like that, it's, anything can happen. All bets are off. And yeah, around Canada where we see a lot of craziness happen, around Red Bull Ring where we see a lot of craziness happen, and it's very possible. It doesn't take a lot to get one penalty point on your license. It could be for something really benign. I mean, he never should have got a penalty for it anyway, but his penalty for blocking George Russell in qualifying in Qatar last year, I think that earned him a penalty point. So it has to be it can be something incredibly minor. So he's got to be really careful now because the FAA have shown they will do it. The FAA have shown that they will ban a driver for a race. They did it with Magnussen last year. Nobody thought they'd do it. I didn't think they'd do it. I didn't think they'd actually commit to their rules. I thought they'd kind of skirt around it and, avoid it at all costs, but they did it. And if Max does anything like what he did to George Russell last time out in Barcelona, he's gone. He's going to get a race ban. So we've not seen anything like this for a very long time. Not since the days of Michael Schumacher have we seen a driver get banned, a champion get banned, I should say. It'd be unprecedented, but it's very possible.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about Kevin Magnussen, it did seem for half of last season that the FIA were doing everything they could to not give him a penalty point for incidents that he was getting penalties for. And then obviously it did, culminate in the incident that cost him the position in Azerbaijan, I want to say. Yes, because it was on Grill the Grid Talk, a cheeky plug there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think Max is going to have to obviously toe the line. As you say, he does drive to the regulations, even if that means putting his car just in the prime position, just as the apex is coming up. But those are the rules. And if you drive to the rules, the penalties don't need to be applied.